Chapter 28. A series of knocks erupted from the apartment door. "John, I know you're home," Randy yelled. "Open up." The knocks grew louder. When they reached an intolerable banging, John gave in and responded. "What do you want?" "Let me in." The door inched open and Randy pushed his way into the apartment. "Why aren't you at work?" John asked. "It's prep period and lunchtime. Why aren't you dressed? You look like you've been hibernating for weeks." "I'm fine." "You're not. You smell. Have you found a job?" "I will." John sat down, stretched his arms across the wood table, and sighed. For almost a month he had tried to avoid this conversation, but now the time had come. He was trapped. Randy stepped closer. He curled his fingers around the back of an empty kitchen chair, bent his head forward, and stared directly at John. "Have you looked for a job?" "I will." "You haven't looked for a job yet? What's with you?" "I'm fine." "You're not fine." "Don't worry about me." John scratched at the scruff on his chin. "It's going on 2 months since you got fired." "Stop." "What?" "I don't like that word." Fired. Get over it. It's only been 5 weeks. Like I said, it's going on 2 months. You've told your parents? Yes. And what'd they say? That it's my own fault, I'm on my own, and not to call them back until I get a job. What do you think they said? They told me I could move home if I needed to. Okay. That I could work for my dad until something turns up. Well, that's good. Right. John rolled his eyes. I worked for him through high school. I'm not going back to being Dad's errand boy. Hey, don't get agitated with me. What about the state hospitals? Have you tried there? What's the point? Maybe something's opened up in the last year. They'd take you if they could. I'm not sure of that. Of course they would. Well, I don't want to do this anymore. Do what? Being a clinical psychologist is not for me. I'm not cut out for that kind of work. Well, I'm sure if you sleep till noon each day, you'll figure out what you're made for. I don't need this from you. I'm telling you, John, this isn't like you, and it's not healthy. From off the coffee table, Randy picked up a cereal bowl. What is this? A dried, mushy substance stuck to the rim. He smelled the bowl and his nose wrinkled up in disgust. How old is this? I'll figure out what I'm doing with my life. I just need time. Well, how much time do you need? Randy walked into the kitchen and the cereal bowl hit the sink. Summer's pretty much here. You've already neglected me on the last fishing trip, and you're not getting out of our annual camping trip, so don't even try. We'll see. John rose from the table and scanned the apartment. He searched for a rescue, anything to change the subject. How's Lily? He asked. Exceptional. So this one's different than the others? Definitely. Well, I'm glad you're happy. So I win. Win? Win what? You know, whose escape is better? Obviously, mine is. What are you talking about? Lily loves me back. Whereas, what do you have? You put everything into your work, and look what it gave you. Why are you here? John asked. To see how you're doing. I'm fine. Good. There's a bonfire at the beach tonight. Come with us. No. There's supposed to be tons of people there. No. You need to get out. I don't want to. You'd really rather be locked in your apartment? I'm fine. What's keeping you in this stuffy place? You're the psychologist. Tell me what your deal is. John said nothing. Look, you saw this coming, Randy said. Now move on. Jobs come and go. It's part of life. Don't let this one ruin you. John did not want to listen. He tried to set up mental roadblocks, to detour his attention around the sound, and to stop the words from having meaning. But all efforts were ineffective. Randy's speech kept going. Months ago, you told me that you were putting your career in jeopardy. You knew you were taking a risk. You decided it was worth it, so it cost you your job. Live and learn. Be done with it. You made your choice. Now get on with your life. John's hands moved through his tangled hair. and a built-up sigh escaped his lips. If only he could make Randy leave. "It's not about the job," he said. "Then what is it? You don't return my calls. You ignore me and the other guys. You never leave here. What is your deal? Why are you choosing to shut yourself out from the entire world and—" "I've made her life worse," John said. "Who, the patient? That's because you won't do anything. You decided to allow corruption to continue. That's why she's worse. She doesn't care anymore." "That's not a good enough excuse. You know you should have done something." "No. Even if she did care, I'm helpless. Dr. Gravers was right. Everything was legal. He can do what he wants. But it's not right. There's nothing I can do." "Okay, why don't you believe that? Keep telling yourself that while you sit around being this pitiful slug." "I don't have options." "Sure you do." "Don't worry about me, all right?" "Fine, but I'm just telling you as a concerned friend, you really stink. You need to shower." "I will." "Good. Now when you're ready to leave your dungeon, give me a call." Randy shut the door. The apartment was annoyingly quiet. John's only company was his dreaded thoughts. Why had she done this to him? Everything could have been different. He had given his all, but in the end, Rebecca wanted to suffer. She lived and supported lies. If she chose to deceive herself and not reach her full potential, then perhaps Clearcreek was the best place for her. Together, they could support each other's fraudulent lifestyles. The more John thought, the angrier he became, and his mind fumed with vehement opinions. What a prison! She was trapped within herself and bound to the walls of Clearcreek. The experience was a waste. There was no hope for her cause. His own vision of who she could become was tainted. He, too, had fed himself lies. Lies that she deserved to get better, that she had potential for a decent, good life. Had he deceived himself? Once he had truly believed in her, but her fate had been predetermined. John didn't want to be a person full of doubt. He wanted to look for the good in life and other people, but he should accept that he would be let down perpetually. He had cared. Was that wrong? Was that where he had made a mistake? No. Instead, the problem was in how he had cared. Perhaps if he had been secure, Rebecca's successes would not have determined his worth. He had insecurities and weaknesses, his own delusions of what was real, and all these false perceptions had hindered his growth and opportunity to become more. Rebecca's choices had hurt him, but in his own innocent way. He had hurt her and others. His insecurities had discolored his identity and understanding of who he really was. The stream of rapid thoughts was clouding John's understanding. In order to stop the unwanted emotions, he stretched out across the couch and closed his eyes. His body was heavy, lethargic. He had only been awake a few hours, but sleep offered a release. The couch was old, stained, and uncomfortable. Originally, it had been his grandfather's. He closed his eyes and turned his body into the sagging cushions, but sleep did not come. The haunting focus of Rebecca's fate resurfaced. From the beginning, he had wanted to save her. Instead, he'd ruined her and lost everything he valued. In an attempt to attain sleep, John shifted to his right side and stared at the gray carpet. What was it that he felt? Was it emptiness, or was he breaking inside? The pain hurt. It was almost unbearable. But there was something almost sweet about the stinging hurt, almost peaceful. Somehow, in the midst of feeling the pain and wanting to release it, he fell asleep. John flinched, startled by a sudden knock. He stood up and glanced at the clock. He had been asleep for 45 minutes. Again, a sharp knock resonated through the apartment. Who would knock at his door at 2 p.m? A solidly built man in a tan suit with dark graying hair and a dimpled chin stood on the porch. He had a black case in his left hand, a bottle in his right, and a smile on his face. "Good afternoon, sir." "Yes?" John rubbed his eyes, still feeling the daze of sleep. "Were you asleep?" the man asked. "Yes." John tried not to look at the solicitor. If he didn't allow them to become real people, he could turn them away. "Perhaps this is a bad time," the man said. "Do you work graveyards?" "No." John's mind Still awakening to his surroundings, was working at a slower pace. All he needed to do was find a way to make the salesman leave. "What are you selling?" he asked. "Something that will improve your day." He raised the small bottle up and his voice became strong. "The Purifier. It's an amazing cleanser, works on stained carpets, old furniture, filthy walls. Whatever you need, the Purifier can help. I would like to give you a quick demo, let you witness its strength, but if this isn't the time, perhaps I can come back when you are prepared." "What about a stained couch?" The words startled John. His response had preceded his thoughts. "Let's take a look." Although still reluctant, John led the man into his living space. The salesman inspected the stained fabric. "The Purifier can take care of this. Would you like me to remove the spot?" "Sure, I guess." "I'll apply the product to the outer area, just touching part of the surface layer. After that, you'll notice a color variation, which means it's time for deep cleaning. Then, in order to see the results, we'll need to wait 5 minutes. What had John agreed to? He looked down at his disheveled appearance. At first, he felt ashamed of his attire, but it was the salesman who had come at the wrong time. 5 minutes, he said. "You won't regret this. It's well worth your time." The salesman squirted the clear liquid around the stain's edges. "Thanks for letting me in. I'm Rulon Jacobs." "John Sanders." The room dropped to an awkward silence. "So, John, what do you do for a living?" the salesman asked. Personal questions. John was not up for this. "I'm unemployed." "Sorry to hear that." The man rubbed a brush over the stain. The darkness spread. The armrest appeared more discolored, the stain more noticeable. "What are you doing?" John said. "It looks worse." "Don't worry." The man looked at John. "The cleanser can do its job." He turned back and examined the spot. "But how old is this stain?" "Too old." "You don't remember?" "No, I remember. It's ingrained in my mind." "Give me a general idea." "I was 13. Just lost the game for my team. Told my dad and grandpa I was quitting baseball. They told me not to give up, so I threw a glass of grape juice. That there is the reminder. A mark of my uncontrolled anger, I guess." "That's a pretty old stain." "Might be stubborn, but I'm confident the Purifier can help." "So did you stop playing?" John recalled that battle with his two patriarchal figures, and a pulse of admiration swept through him. He now took advantage of his company's listening ear. "When my grandfather was alive, he taught me a lot. Didn't have an easy life, but he was a stalwart, committed man, and he passed that trait on to my dad." "That's good. This world certainly needs those people." "My dad's also amazing. So's my mom. She had hard years, but my dad stuck it out, supported her. Both of them made sacrifices so us kids would have a good life." The salesman turned to his briefcase and began sorting through the contents. Meanwhile, John sorted through his memories of his mother. There had been severe times, but she held on and made it through. Perhaps John had been too young, his memory slanted. The facts and details were limited, but one thing he knew. She loved her family. She had found determination, and had endured in order to bless those in her care. His father supported her and had suffered through his own trials as well. In the end, the family benefited and progressed. While scrubbing the cushion, Rulon Jacobs said, "So what'd you say? Did you quit baseball?" "My dad wasn't a quitter, so I couldn't be either. It was his example and encouragement that pulled me out of my slump. I went on to play in high school, got a scholarship for college, and by my sophomore year, I'd found other interests and goals to pursue. It was good I didn't quit." "Good for you." The salesman smiled, then patted the cushioned armrest. "Here, take a look at what the Purifier did for your couch." Both men turned to examine. The stain was gone. The quality of the old furniture had improved. "This cleanser always works," Rulon Jacobs stated. "Now you're free of that blemish." "Yeah, impressive. Thanks." "This Purifier can make a difference." The salesman proceeded to share all the benefits of this powerful product. When he departed, John had a purchase bottle in hand and a potent yearning to take a shower and begin his day.